That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, we are going to be starting a series, at least a very small series, where I go through and I cover some players that I think are almost guaranteed locks to actually see their value increase for 2022. So maybe this makes you want to go out there and actually target them on some rebuilding rosters, even though I will say the number one thing for you to do on a rebuilding roster is go through and just accumulate those future picks. I mean, try to get as many future first-round picks as you can, even if you're not a massive fan of that 2022 draft class. Hell, it doesn't matter because we know when you get to next offseason, I mean, you're going to look around your league, you're going to look at your owners, they're going to have a little bit of drool coming out of their mouth. They're going to be like, hey, man, can I please give me a pick? I need to draft a rookie. And it happens every offseason. It doesn't matter what the class is. It doesn't matter if it's 2015, 2016. It doesn't matter if Laquan Treadwell, Corey Coleman, and Josh Doxson are the best wide receivers in the class. I mean, people are going to be drooling for those picks. So yeah, first thing is go try to get those future first. That way you can sell them at a guaranteed profit next offseason. But if you're a rebuilding team and you've already soaked up a lot of the future first, the other owners don't necessarily want to deal with you. Well, hey, here's some players that you could go through and you could look to acquire. Now, we are going to be talking about running backs here, and running backs are going to be the hardest position to acquire, guaranteeing yourself an increase in value next offseason, especially if you're talking about veteran players. But I'm going to be talking about the one veteran that I think is actually a lock to increase his value next offseason. But of course, before we dive into them, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. And also, we have a major announcement that the Flock Dynasty Meetup is today. If you are in Texas, come out. I really want to meet as many of y'all as I can. And also, if you have not already, support the show on Patreon. We are closing in on 400 members of that community. And once we hit that, we are starting a high stakes fantasy league, a $500 buy-in. I am playing in it. I'm paying for my own spot. And also, I am paying for an additional spot that we are going to be doing a giveaway with over there on Patreon. So please go support the channel. And yeah, let's dive into it. Let's talk Kareem Hunt. Okay, so with Kareem Hunt, I know that this is the last name you're expecting hearing. I mean, a 25-year-old running back, this is about the time period where I'm screaming, sell, sell, sell. I mean, this is a player that the cliff is coming. But with Kareem Hunt, I think this is a completely different situation. I think this is a situation that we have never seen before, in all honesty. Because obviously, Kareem Hunt goes from being a first-round startup pick way back there in 2017. I mean, in 2017, Kareem Hunt was essentially a top 10 pick in every single dynasty league, and he falls all the way down because of the off-the-field concern, the off-the-field incident. And now, all of a sudden, Kareem Hunt is looking at a situation where he is far enough removed from that incident where I believe the NFL is going to be ready to give him a feature down role yet again. And I thought that this was going to happen this offseason. I'll be completely transparent. With Kareem Hunt last offseason, I was actually really buying into him. I mean, I was all in on Kareem Hunt because 2020 was supposed to be the last year that he was in Cleveland. Yet instead, the Cleveland Browns, they went through, they gave him an extension before the season even started, something you never see with a running back, especially a running back that had no leverage like a Kareem Hunt. But what I think that they did is actually they signed Kareem Hunt to that extension to lock him into 2021 for the Cleveland Browns because they looked ahead. They went, you know what, Nick Chubb, one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. What happens if we don't want to pay him? What happens if we don't want to give him that mega extension next offseason and we can't come to terms with the deal? If we don't have Kareem Hunt here, if Kareem Hunt leaves, then we're going to have no leverage on working with that Nick Chubb deal. So they bring back Kareem Hunt for 2021, which obviously is not ideal because he is going to be a complimentary running back to Nick Chubb more times than not. But there is that one small chance. And I know that nobody is talking about this. I'm going to get so much hate for even bringing it up. And I think that's why nobody's talking about it. But guys, let's just go back. Let's look at some recent history. Let's look at Melvin Gordon. What happened there with the holdout? I mean, Melvin Gordon misses almost half the season. What happens last year where the entire offseason, we just are talking about Joe Mixon possibly holding out, Dalvin Cook possibly holding out, Alvin Kamara possibly holding out. And those players, they see their ADP slightly decline until they do get those extensions. Yet, for whatever reason, nobody is talking about Nick Chubb as a potential holdout candidate. Now, I understand that the Cleveland Browns, they are going to desperately want Nick Chubb back. Of course they want Nick Chubb back. Nick Chubb, one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, even if I think he is a little overrated in Dynasty. But the question is is a team going to be willing to hand out that Ezekiel Elliott type contract after the Dallas Cowboys have clearly showed that that is one of the worst contracts that you could ever give to a player in the NFL? So it's going to be interesting. I mean, Nick Chubb and the Cleveland Browns do have to come to some type of deal, because I can guarantee you Nick Chubb is not playing this season without an extension. I mean, it would make no sense for a running back like Nick Chubb, where he did have that significant, I mean, one of the worst injuries you can ever see. Pull up a Nick Chubb video on that injury that he suffered back there in Georgia. He's not playing the last year of his rookie deal without an extension. So it's going to be down to the fact, hey, do the Browns work something out? I would say 90% of the time they do, but hey, there's that 10% chance it doesn't happen. But regardless, that's not why you're excited about Kareem Hunt. Why you're excited about Kareem Hunt is this is a player that has shown that he can command a role with the best running back in the NFL, or a top 3 running back in the NFL with Nick Chubb in town, where you've seen Kareem Hunt over the past 2 years. I mean, Kareem Hunt in 2020 was able to average 12.5 carries a game, 2.5 receptions, 71 total yards, and he does get that usage at the goal line. He has 11 touchdowns in 16 games. He's a low-end running back 2 in fantasy last year with Nick Chubb on the roster, with him playing alongside a premier running back in the NFL. And in 2019, coming back and only playing in 8 games, so a very small sample, and he was also out of football for a while, so it's really hard to bring too much with Kareem Hunt here. I mean, he was able to average 4.5 receptions a game. I mean, that is notable. Having that elite usage in the receiving game, he was lining up in the slot a lot of snaps. That is something we want to point out. We want to point out that Kareem Hunt has the potential to get the 2 things you look for in a running back. He is going to get the goal line usage for whatever team he's on, besides the team like the Browns, because they have Nick Chubb. And he's also going to be getting the usage in the receiving game. By far and away, the 2 most useful things in fantasy for the running back position. And we go back, and I want to remind everyone how good Kareem Hunt was in Kansas City when he did have the potential to be a workhorse running back. Whenever there was not a Nick Chubb type player in the backfield, Kareem Hunt was actually the running back 5 in points per game in Kansas City his rookie season. As a rookie, he was the running back 5. Najee Harris is not hitting that mark, everybody. I promise you. Najee Harris isn't hitting that. Jonathan Taylor didn't do it last year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't do it. DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, none of them hit that mark of being the running back 5 their rookie season like Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt did this with a ton of volume. He did it with 17 carries a game. More importantly, 3.5 receptions. You love to see that reception total. He had 111 total yards a game. He had 11 total touchdowns in 16 games. So here we have seen Kareem Hunt be a player that's going to make an impact when you have Nick Chubb in the same backfield. We have seen him be an elite running back before when he had the opportunity to be a workhorse guy. So all of a sudden, you're facing a situation where the Cleveland Browns are most likely going to be giving the bag to Nick Chubb this offseason. They're going to be giving him a massive extension. And next offseason, Kareem Hunt is going to be an unrestricted free agent. So you have to ask yourselves, okay, Kareem Hunt, 26 years old, as an unrestricted free agent in what's supposed to be a very bad running back draft class next year. He's most likely going to get paid a significant amount. I am expecting this to be an Aaron Jones type situation. I'm expecting him to get a significant contract. And I do not think that the Cleveland Browns are going to be willing to pay 2 running backs top 10 contracts in the NFL, because simply NFL teams don't do that. NFL teams can't allocate that much resources to the running back position. So you go through and you go, okay, what teams are going to have an open role and are going to have the contract space to be able to bring in a running back like Kareem Hunt? And you go through the NFL, and there are about 5 to 6 teams that I think really stand out. The top team is going to be the Miami Dolphins. I mean, a team that a lot of people, including myself, I thought this is where Aaron Jones was going. I almost pegged in Aaron Jones to go to Miami. But maybe you have Kareem Hunt there next year instead, that would be even better than what Miami is this season, because we have seen Miami continue to make the correct decisions in building this team for the long haul. And I think not this year, but next year, if they are going to be a contending roster with Tua Tagovailoa on a rookie contract, it will be next season when you have Tua going into year 3, when you have an offensive line finally coming together, and when you have Jalen Waddle going into year 2, all of a sudden you insert Kareem Hunt into that situation. Kareem Hunt, I can guarantee you, ain't sharing a backfield with Myles Gaskin. I mean, that is a guarantee. Kareem Hunt would be a feature down running back in one of the better offenses in the NFL. Another team that has this capability, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this would be perfect. You've seen Tampa be willing to go out there and bring in the off-the-field concerns with an Antonio Brown. And here with Tampa, we've talked about Keyshawn Vaughn being an interesting stash in Dynasty because Keyshawn Vaughn's the only running back on the roster next year. I mean, they have Giovanni Bernard, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn. They have a full running back room this year. But next season, I mean, those contracts expire. Fournette, done. Bernard, done. Ronald Jones, done. And all of a sudden, hey, you have a massive hole at running back. What happens when Kareem Hunt comes over to a team with an elite offensive line? Now, I think you could make the argument that maybe Tom Brady is just completely toast. I think that's a safe argument to be made. But regardless, it's going to be a team that has a workhorse running back spot open in 2022. Now, Buffalo, another team. Buffalo, I pretty much pegged them to be a team that was not going to be going running back in this year's NFL draft because they decided to go with Devin Singletary in the 3rd round in 2019, Zach Moss in the 3rd round in 2020. And you see that type of investment at day 2 of the NFL draft. You go, hey, they're most likely not going to be spending a running back pick here. But hell, I mean, they'll be 2 years removed from their most recent running back investment. And also those rookie contracts will be set to expire. So maybe they actually do go after a Kareem Hunt. You have the Arizona Cardinals, given the fact that Chase Edmonds is on his last year of his contract. James Conner is on his last year of his contract as well. So clearly that is a team that needs a running back. You have the New York Jets, where they have no investment into the running back position right now. I mean, their largest investment is a 4th round pick into LaMichael Pirine and a 4th round pick into Michael Carter. So the Jets, clearly an option. And the Houston Texans, going to be one of the most obvious options, to be completely honest. And yes, it's going to be a disgusting situation if the Deshaun Watson situation is not sorted out, but I think by 2022 it will be. And also, given the fact that this team's going to be so bad this upcoming year, you would be almost guaranteed to have a top 3 pick in this year's NFL draft where they could possibly look to turn things around. And if you have Deshaun Watson, I mean, your overall offensive efficiency is going to be sky high, as well as going through and adding some other pieces through the NFL draft. I think that team could be interesting with a workhorse role available. So please let me know what y'all think about this, because I think as an overall process, you're going to be losing more times than not when you try to go through and peg a veteran running back to increase in value going into his age 26 season. I mean, more times than not, that's a losing proposition. But I'm sitting here saying that, hey, I don't think we've ever seen this type of situation with a guy like a Kareem Hunt before. So maybe he's a sneaky guy to buy right now if you're actually a contending roster and you use him as some depth, and then all of a sudden, maybe he gets that spike in value next offseason. Okay, so now let's go over to our next guy, which is going to be Javonte Williams here. So I'm going to keep it pretty brief with Javonte Williams because we've already talked so much about him. But let's talk about the running back prospect profile first, and then we can go through and we can talk about what the situation is going to be looking like next year. But Javonte Williams, one of the youngest, if not the youngest running back in this year's NFL draft. So you know you love to see that with how the dynasty community is going to be talking about a player 12 months from now. And he has the significant team investment. I mean, this team trades the 8th pick in the 2nd round and the 8th pick in the 4th round to go get Javonte Williams. So that is significant. I mean, this team is locked and loaded into Javonte Williams as their starting running back of the future. He clears the minimum thresholds on pretty much everything that you're looking to see. He clears the threshold on the team investment. He clears the threshold on the BMI. He has a 30.4 BMI. He clears it on his 40-yard dash with a 4.57. He clears it on his college target share with a 9% college target share. And that's with Michael Carter, a more than capable pass-catching running back in that same backfield in college. So Javonte Williams, a very good running back prospect. I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning of this offseason when people were saying, oh, Javonte Williams over Travis Etienne. And I was going, hey, guys, sound the alarms, pump the brakes. There's no way that is going to happen. First, let's see the team investment. Then we can even talk about him being in the same tier. But there's no way he's even close to Travis Etienne. I will say that. But regardless, I mean, this is someone that had a good running back prospect profile if you attach that NFL draft capital that he got to it. And we can talk about the production that he had in college, but I'll remind everyone that at the running back position, production isn't necessarily nearly as important from college. What you really want to see at the running back position is those traits that we just discussed. But regardless, in 2019, over 12 carries a game, over a reception a game. But in 2020, this is what you really want to see. This is a player that bumps up his usage, most importantly, the usage in the receiving game, to 2.5 receptions a game. He has close to 14.5 carries a game, over 130 total yards a game, and he has 2 touchdowns a game. So you have Javonte Williams just turning into not necessarily a bell cow running back because Michael Carter is there, but someone that is getting usage in every area of the football field. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a running back in a committee with Michael Carter if he's only going to be playing on first and second downs, because at that point you go, hell, is Michael Carter that good, or is Javonte Williams just kind of lacking with what he can do on the field? And that's why they have to take him out of the game on third downs. But that's not the case. Javonte Williams is getting that usage in the receiving game. And we look at the situation with what this is going to be in Denver for 2022. And you see that Melvin Gordon is not under contract for 2022. Now, he does have $6.5 million on the dead cap for this upcoming season. So Melvin Gordon's going to be on this team. I've heard some people talk about him possibly getting cut, but if you really understand how this contract is set up, no, Melvin Gordon's locked into this team for 2021. But after that, there's nobody here. I mean, you have Javonte Williams. Let me look up real quick as we record this video, the Royce Freeman contract. But Royce Freeman came in 2018, the same class as Ronald Jones. So I'd imagine that he's on the last year of his rookie deal as well. But let's pull this up just to make sure that I'm not talking out of my ass and that I am completely incorrect here. So yeah, it does look like Royce Freeman is on the last year of his own rookie deal. So I mean, everything here points to the fact that you're going to have Javonte Williams as that workhorse running back this upcoming season. I mean, you're going through and you're having a running back room getting completely cleared out. You have the profile attached to it. And now we have to ask ourselves, is this offense going to be able to put up a decent amount of production? And what I will say with the Denver Broncos is they're kind of stuck in a range where you don't necessarily know how the quarterback upgrade is actually going to get there, because their team, especially with the supporting cast at wide receiver, is loaded to the point where you're not necessarily looking at them as going to be a contending team to be at the top of the NFL draft like the Houston Texans. But they are going to be in a situation where the quarterback position next year in the NFL should be significantly better, with so many options coming through in the NFL draft. And very few quarterbacks are going to be aging out of the NFL. I mean, possibly you have a guy like Tom Brady aging out. Possibly you have someone like a Ben Roethlisberger. But beyond that, there are very few quarterbacks that are going to be leaving the player pool in the NFL next year. So possibly you have a situation where there are more starters, at least of quality, that the Denver Broncos could pull from that are going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater. So it's not going to be an elite quarterback there, regardless the case, but at least there is a path for it to get slightly better. Now, thank you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow. Thank you to everybody supporting the show. We got some new members of the flock in Robert, Caden, Matt, Robbie, Dan, John, Ziggy, Blake, Oliver, and Devin. Thank you, my dudes.